Good evening, this is the Oscar Expert here with Brother Bro, and it's time for updated Oscar predictions. We're doing Best Director, and this is a great time to start talking about it, post-Cannes, because we always kind of have a Cannes director or two.
Just a reminder that you can make all your predictions for this year's Oscars and see what other people are predicting on Award Expert. And this is the first time that we've actually had a pulse on what other people are thinking for the Oscars at this point in the year, since Gold Derby polls haven't opened up. We'll be referencing some of what the Award Expert community thinks about these films, which is an app you can download for Android or iOS.
That you made.
That I created.
So let's get into it. We got, do we have Denis Villeneuve at number one? I feel like this is something that is not actually going to happen.
I can still see it happening. I don't actually think it will happen either, but I think there's a very good case that he could win for Dune Part 2.
Him not getting nominated for the first one, do you think that's possible that he gets snubbed again?
Not really.
I think it's possible.
Yeah, possible, but I don't think it's likely to happen. Dune Part 2, he absolutely upped the ante. And there is a lot of discussion around certain scenes, like Timmy riding the worm, and how he executed that, and a lot of admiration for how he directed the film.
Well, moreover, Dune 2, unlike Dune 1, is getting people talking about the themes of the film and the ending, and the first one was really just spectacle. And I think that's why the director's branch said, well, hold on, like, that's a part one. And I think that they'll be ready to embrace him this time around. I mean, he's been nominated for Arrival. It's not like they have a grudge on him. And I think most people think that Dune 2 is better than the first one, even visually, like, more impressive. So I think that's a lot going for him. Here's where I think he could win. I think he's got a great shot to win the Critics' Choice Award. And lately, that's who wins Best Director, is whoever wins the Critics' Choice. It's actually been going quite strong. The last person not to do it was when George Miller won Critics' Choice.
I can also see Sean Baker or the director of the Sacred Fig movie.
Absolutely not Critics' Choice. They don't give a fuck.
No, not Critics' Choice. Not Critics' Choice, but winning Critics' Circles.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that.
And doing well.
Absolutely.
In those awards. Like, both of the films coming out of Cannes really strong for Best Picture, Honora and Seed of the Sacred Fig. I think those are going to get nominated for Director at the Academy Awards, and they will be contending for a win.
If Neon gets both these films in for director, like, goddamn,
Sing Sing could be the little indie that wins Best Picture, and then Dune could win Best Director.
I mean, I'm sure some people will say Blitz, but I don't know if I'm quite there.
It's not a good bet to say Blitz is going to win.
Blitz seems like the kind of movie that will be very good, will be easy to get in, but just won't win.
I'm not sure Blitz gets into director even.
Why the fuck would it?
Because I'm more likely to put Guadagnino in for queer.
We can have Guadagnino in if you want to, but I am not taking McQueen out.
But think about if Mangrove from Small Axe was campaigned for awards and wasn't part of a Small Axe anthology.
That would have been nominated for Best Director.
You think so? I'm not sure about that.
Especially in 2020, yeah.
I'm really not sure about that.
But that was also like made with the intention of being a miniseries, so it's a little bit different. Blitz, I think, is going to be a bigger production.
I don't think it's that much bigger of a production.
It's absolutely a bigger production. It takes place during the war.
It's not a war film, though. Look it up.
Okay.
It's about the families living in shelter during the bombing.
There are going to be scenes where bombings happen outside their homes, and it'll get a sound nomination.
It's one explosion, and then you go, ee!
I said bombings with an S. There'll be multiple scenes. Oppenheimer,
I don't know about that.
I had one bomb that went off, and it got a sound nomination.
Okay. Well, Oppenheimer did something else with the sound, which is why it got nominated.
It's going to be production design and, like, lots of, tech nominations and stuff like that. All right, that's why I think Blitz can get in. You understand? Steve McQueen's is a showy director. I don't really think Sean Baker would win for Honora or Mohamed Rasulov would win for Sacred Fig unless those movies like won Best Picture. I don't think it's that big of a stretch to have Rasulov in for director. Number one, he's directed a few films that people consider very good. The director's branch, they're a little more well-versed. They're more likely to look into his background and know that kind of thing. Just the heroism that people are feeling from him right now. The fact that he fucking escaped Iran and made this film even knowing that it would endanger him and his crew. Like, the act of bravery. I think the director's branch is going to get down with that. And we know that they will nominate these international films. Sean Baker, it's very much his time. All of his films have an interesting visual style. They're interestingly constructed, and he's like an auteur. He's obviously getting nominated for director this year. When he won the Palme, it was locked.
Yeah.
And we have Luca Guadagnino for Queer. I don't know what's happening with this, but, if Queer's in Best Picture, like, he better get a directing nomination.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, with
That's
some
what I'm
challengers?
saying. If you go through all the films in your top 10 for Best Picture, which of the other ones has a better shot at Best Director if it's actually in there?
Well, I have one other argument for you. Now, I don't know if here has as good of a shot or
That's
not.
the thing. I agree that Robert Zemeckis for Here is actually a good bet because he's doing something weird with the movie. There's no way to adapt here without doing something interesting with the filmmaking. And apparently it's all shot from like the same angle and the same corner at the same corner of the room. Like, I don't know how the film will be constructed. It's one of the big mysteries of the year. You know, what will the production design and the cinematography look like for a graphic novel where every frame of the graphic novel was just capturing one piece of a room throughout millennium? The point is, if Here is in for Best Picture, it does look likely that would have a director nomination as well, doesn't it?
I think so.
But I'm just not as gung-ho on Here for Best Picture.
Yeah.
I'm more thinking that Queer will be the Venice Fall Festival breakout.
Now, there's a few contenders here that a lot of people seem to have in director that we don't. We have Sing Sing in number 1 for Best Picture, and your community actually has him in director, I think, at number 3.
Yeah.
So why don't we think this is happening, having seen the film? I mean, I would say, like, a lot of credit given to Greg Quindar here. Like, he did a great job working with this ensemble of non-Hollywood actors. He told the story really honestly and respectfully. Like, the approach that he took with the cinematographer, too. Like, it really works for the film.
Yeah, I love the shot on 16mm look of the film.
I'm not even opposed to it getting a director nomination, but I do think that he's not going to be like the face of the movie. I feel like the thing that people want to cheer for with this film is the ensemble. I just don't think that he's like established in the way that maybe the director's branch wants to see.
Right. Yeah, he could even get DGA or a Golden Globe director nomination.
Yeah,
and it still wouldn't go along with it.
And he might.
Yeah, I'm just not feeling Greg Quindar, especially for the Oscar nomination.
I also think that Todd Phillips probably won't get nominated this time around. That's not to say that what he's doing is not like more ambitious than, you know, the first film maybe, but I think because they have seen it before, they may not nominate him again, even though there is like the musical element. You know, I feel like he was number 5 in his year anyway. It's interesting because his reputation would make you think maybe the director's branch wouldn't have let him in the first time, because people were kind of debating like, oh, well, is he a great filmmaker? Like, isn't he just kind of ripping off like other films? But I think the film was stylish enough and just well loved that, you know, he got in anyway. And maybe it'll be the same. I mean, they let him in the first time. I don't know. I could see the sequel, them being like, Let's like slow it down a little bit, Todd Phillips. Edward Berger for Conclave. You know, we'll see. He didn't even get nominated for All Quiet, so I don't know. Maybe they'll feel like he's done enough at this point, though.
We really have to hone in on director's branch with auteurs. So I'm actually thinking The Room Next Door is pretty high up there. The reason being, I think it's a top 15 Best Picture contender. You know, if it gets into Best Picture, it would definitely get a Best Director nomination. Another film that if it got Best Picture, it would get Best Director is Emilia Perez. Throw that out there as like another auteur film.
Yeah, I mean, it's Jacques Audiard. He is a well-known French filmmaker. Doing something very ambitious as well. You know, maybe it doesn't hit that like super criticky audience that sometimes the director's branch is, but I think they would respect the style. Like, if it was in Best Picture, I'd definitely have it in for director.
Another one I'm really interested in is All We Imagine As Light for director. And I'm wondering, like, could this be a Cold War situation where the movie does not get Best Picture?
Oh, I don't know.
And it would be weird, and it's not something I would predict. But I do wonder if an LA or a New York film critics would give this Best Director.
Maybe.
And if the BAFTA would do it as well. And the BAFTA jury really might do this film.
But I want to say this, though. It's a debut film.
It doesn't matter.
The BAFTA jury might do it.
Yeah, BAFTA jury might do it.
Maybe a critics group. Maybe a critics group. She is one of 2 women on this list. Unless you want to have Coralie Farjat for The Substance.
I don't think that there's a chance she gets nominated. Although I'd like to see her get nominated for The Substance. It's not going to happen.
It just is looking like, unless something comes out of the fall festivals, I don't see where the female directing contender is.
If you want to find the nearest woman filmmaker, like if you're really looking out, Marielle Heller for Night Bitch. Is Night Bitch going to be a Best Picture movie? It doesn't really seem like
Even if it was, honestly, the cinematography game in her films is like, it's not the best. Often, like, you want the movie to be like really like visually finely tuned, I guess, to get into director.
I don't think it's necessarily about that. I think it's about being an auteur.
However, I would say if Night Bitch in particular, though, if they pull off like this kind of weirdo thing with, you know, the main character like transforming into like an animal and like it still translates to the Oscars, I think people will be like, well, it's a bit of a high wire act that you pulled off there, Marielle Heller.
If Night Bitch is a contender for Best Picture, Marielle Heller must have done something interesting to make that movie work, and I think she would be considered. The point is more that Night Bitch is probably not gonna be.
But nor would Night Bitch be a top 5 is my point. Like, even if it wasn't Best Picture, it probably wouldn't be a top 5.
Audrey Dewan, I really don't think Emmanuel is going to be good based on some rumors about it getting rejected from film festivals. It's just an unfortunate thing that there are just not many films with female directors that look to be contending for Best Picture.
Yeah.
It's just how this year looks to be at this moment. Maybe we can find a surprise film, but
Surely, a TIFF breakout is possible or something.
Yeah.
Joshua Oppenheimer for the end, TBD if that goes to Venice. Ramel Ross for the Nickel Boys. If he does something as stylistically interesting as his documentary seems to be, then maybe Pablo Larraín for Maria. Still waiting for the Pablo Larraín Best Director nomination. Eggers for Nosferatu, good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.
Mike Lee for Hard Truths. Not impossible. I'll move him up a little bit.
What about Ridley Scott for Gladiator 2?
Yeah, fine.
Francis Ford Coppola? Is there a really strange universe where that somehow pulls a director nomination?
I know some people who think that's possible. But
just on people being like, oh, it's Francis Ford Coppola. It's the only nomination.
They're going to have to watch... Let's put it this way. They are going to have to watch the film first.
Yeah.
I
agree.
That's the problem.
I don't know how you could watch Megalopolis and be like, that film was well directed. You could say it was an interesting mess. You could say that it was a worthwhile mess, but I don't know how you can say it was well directed.
Yeah, that's basically everybody I have, so that's director. So for original screenplay, after The Apprentice premiered at Cannes, we were like, there's no number one in original screenplay. We were freaking out. We were like, literally, what is that? Because, sure, Blitz is like, that's not going to win.
I'm not putting Blitz at number one. I don't want to put something at number one that I truly don't believe would win. And it was making me think, okay, do I need to put The Room Next Door in here? Do I need to put Juror number 2 in?
Or The End?
Or A Real Pain?
And then we got... what I think are two screenplay contenders, of course. You have Honora, which won the Palm, and a lot of people seem to be putting this at number one because I think it makes more sense than the other options.
It's fair to be confident about Honora right now, but you have to realize, the reason people are so gung-ho about it is because Film Twitter loves it, and it seems to be a Best Picture movie, but, I wouldn't get that far ahead. I wouldn't make the prediction that Honora is going to win an Oscar with confidence yet. We really have just too many movies to see. But you could have it at number one in original screenplay right now. That's fine. The Seed of the Sacred Fig, though, when I thought that was going to win the Palm, I was like, this is so easy. This movie's winning screenplay. Obviously it's winning screenplay. This is their way of being able to give this director an Oscar. Yeah.
And it's very dialogue heavy.
I'm convinced in my assessment of The Seed of the Sacred Fig's chances. I'm confident that it's going to have a nice rebound, that it doesn't need Palm to get Oscar nominations. And I know, other people might just not be seeing that because they think the Palm is so important for this movie, but I might even be more confident than you in saying that I think it has the potential to win something because the narrative is so good.
Maybe even more of a crowd pleaser than Honora, perhaps, from what I've heard.
Some directors, it's like, oh, finally they made a movie that's more for general audiences than their other works, like Yorgos Lanthimos with The Favorite. But Honora is very much still a Sean Baker movie. It's not more of a crowd pleaser. It's just possibly his best. But I don't know. I don't really see a winner in Honora. I mean, they could give it screenplay.
Well, what about the fact that it's a comedy? Do you think that's important?
I just see people as thinking Honora's maybe not a perfect movie because it's going to lose some steam for a lot of people in the middle.
Yeah, I'm okay with having Fig at number one for screenplay.
Yeah, I'm okay with it too.
Feels a little out there for this point in the year, but
I'm throwing Fig up in my top 3 for Best Picture right now.
Oh, okay.
Because I want to be right about it in the end. I know it might not come true, but it'd be nice if that was something that I was right about.
A Real Pain, I think there's a pretty good chance. I think, with Searchlight behind it, the fact that the movie has amazing writing. Don't you think that the writing's really fucking good in Real Pain?
I do think the writing's very good.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I mean, the biggest thing so far for A Real Pain is that it got acquired by Searchlight. Out of Sundance alone, you wouldn't have thought much of it. This is where it depends on the competition. This is truly just an assessment of which movies are the most likely to be Best Picture contenders.
The Room Next Door is definitely a candidate.
Yeah.
Although Almodovar, I don't know that he's going to get nominated if the movie's not in Best Picture. I think
this actually makes sense to me. I could see him getting nominated for screenplay even without Best Picture.
Well, if the category is weak, maybe. But I think if the movie's not in Best Picture, it'll show that it's probably either underwhelming for an Almodovar or not everybody's cup of tea. And in both those cases, I don't think it would get into screenplay without picture. Challengers, I think there's a good case that it comes back around, gets a little more hype by the end of the year. I also think that the Academy might be a little colder to the movie than we want them to be.
Yeah, I'm a little bit afraid that's going to happen with Challengers.
The genre doesn't exactly fit.
The other thing with Challengers is that the screenwriter will more likely be nominated for queer, but could get 2 nominations in the 2 different screenplay categories.
I just feel like that's not going to happen at the end of the day.
I feel like that
one way
too.
or another.
I think it's probably going to be that queer happens and people calm down about Challengers happening because queer is happening.
Hard Truths. Definitely could see Mike
Yeah.
Lee getting nominated.
Yeah.
This is a Venice hopeful. I could put that in. I put that at number 5 over
you can
Room
do it.
Next Door right now. You know, Mike Lee, he actually does get screenplay nominations. Like, he does get
his films have a knack for sneaking into screenplay.
Another year beat out Black Swan.
Wow.
So the writers are paying attention to that man. I rewatched Naked lately, and I was like, oh my god, the writing.
I hope Hard Truths is considered a great Mike Lee movie, and if it is, then I gotta put it in for screenplay. Really,
Yeah.
This is not that crowded of a category.
Well, it could be. You just don't know. I think The Apprentice.
Oh man, The Apprentice. There's so much more to talk about in the few days since we filmed the last video. Guys, I'm worried. I'm really worried that The Apprentice distribution is dead. I have removed it from all my categories because I cannot see a path forward for US distribution for this film. The Apprentice has several obstacles. One of its financiers and producers is a friend of Trump's and didn't know the movie was going to be critical of Trump and doesn't like the movie, is not happy with it at all. And he has the right to veto any distribution deal that the studio comes up with.
What would he try to?
I don't know if he would
He's
try.
still financially invested.
I know, that's the thing. Like, it's all speculation at this point. What's going to happen with that? But clearly, that's some baggage. One thing he could do is demand that the rape scene is removed, for example, or that the movie be watered down in some way or re-edited. I don't know. That's pure speculation.
Or maybe come out after the election.
But even if that problem didn't exist, and I don't even know if it's the main blocker or not, it has not been offered distribution by any of the major film studios or by any of the top indie studios. At this point, it's going to be a studio that doesn't, is not usually friendly for the awards. And even if it was taken by such a studio, you have to speculate at that point, like, what impact that would have on its awards chances. Allegedly, the reason a lot of studios are passing is because they don't want Trump, who could be elected this November, to act punitively towards them when he's in office. Like, they legitimately fear that he could take away some of their power. I'm not sure what power he would have to do that, but that seems to be something they're afraid of. And then there's the Trump lawsuit, of course, where Trump has sent a cease and desist to the team behind The Apprentice, saying, if you release this movie, we are going to come after you, we're going to sue you. So any studio that wants to distribute this is going to have to handle all the legal baggage. Clearly, this is looking like a bad deal for most studios, and there just is no clear path forward. I don't know if this means it's going to get delayed throughout the year and come out after the election. Is it just going to keep going to TIFF and then it's going to try to shoot its shot there? Additionally, I'm speculating that some studio heads just have pro-Trump people that don't want the movie because they don't like that it criticizes this person that they support. That's not something that's been reported, but it's pretty easy to speculate that could be a factor, especially when it comes to the bigger studios.
Juror number 2, I think, seems possible. The End definitely, says original, I guess, in terms of the concept, but for some reason, I feel like there's a chance this movie just doesn't even show its face this year. I don't know why. Like,
what?
That one Variety article, it just hasn't been mentioned. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes movies still get mentioned. Like, Mother Mary is not on A24's release slate.
That movie is apparently in production. It's not even done.
Oh, shit.
They're not even editing it.
What is The End doing?
Yeah, if it doesn't go to Venice, I don't know what the hell's happening.
I would think it's coming out next year.
Yeah, listen, I've taken The End out of all categories only because Neon has 2 other films, and I cannot fathom them having 3 films in Best Picture.
I think His 3 Daughters has a chance. You do have Netflix pushing it. Great screenplay, not too inaccessible.
When it comes down to the actual movies that are going to be in contention, it's not going to be a contender.
Probably
That's what
not,
I think.
I guess not. What do you think about Amelia Perez?
Yeah, Amelia Perez is if Best Picture.
But sometimes musicals don't even get screenplay. I don't think Dee Dee adapted screenplay. Sing Sing is adapted.
Yes.
Your app's a little confused. We're clarifying it here.
Yeah.
If you look on Wikipedia, it is adapted from a article, I think. So Sing Sing we have at number 1. because it's really well loved.
And it also has a good screenplay. It's a dialogue-heavy film overall, and
Some of those monologues, though, in it
Yeah.
seem like they might have been personal from the actors' lives, and maybe not even like that written. But
Yeah.
overall, like it's just because we think it's winning Best Picture. That's it.
Yeah, that's all it needs.
And why do we think it's winning Best Picture? Because it's one of the biggest like crowd pleaser Oscar type of movies that I think would be like extraordinarily broadly appealing to the Academy, and it's probably winning SAG Ensemble. We already have been over those things.
Yeah. There are a couple people in the comments who seem confused about what's going on with Sing Sing, and let me just address it. They're like, oh, well, Sing Sing didn't win any awards at TIFF, so how could it be an Oscar contender? Okay, so at TIFF, it matters a lot if you have many screenings of your film. And Sing Sing was lower on the radar for most people going in, and it did not have as many screenings. And if we look back, not too long ago, The Sound of Metal premiered at TIFF, and a few people saw it and said it was very good. It came out the next year, and it stormed the awards race. So Sing Sing has a precedent in that sense, premiering at TIFF, coming out the next year.
Yeah, Hurt Locker did the same thing with Venice.
It's a makes everybody cry film. It's well made. It's important.
Critics love it too. They do.
Critics are eating
It's
it
not
up.
even. I thought there was more of a divide. Look at Rotten Tomatoes. Oh my God, there's not. Conclave. If this is in Best Picture, obviously it's getting screenplay. People say that the book is just a massive page turner with lots of twists and turns and like political plots going on. I guess it doesn't really seem like it would win. It doesn't have the writer-director thing. Maybe Queer could be number 2. Wait, why not?
Queer is a movie I'm betting on in Best Picture is going to be one of the bigger movies this year.
Apparently it's very dialogue heavy, lots of
Also,
monologues.
Justin Kuritsky for doing what he did with Challengers, like Queer is probably going to be a very interesting screenplay.
Yeah, well, Luca reached out to him after they made Challengers to write the script for him because he wanted to adapt the book.
But he's not a writer-director, is he? So they don't win. They don't win awards.
Well, the Nickel Boys technically is. If that wins People's Choice or something, then that could maybe win screenplay if we're really looking for alternatives as well. Yeah. At number 5, we got a few options here. There's Here, which we're just generally uncertain about, but I could see it happening. It could happen. It's Eric Roth.
I think
by the way.
listen. I think you have to put Dune Part 2 over Here.
Really?
You have to. You don't have good justification to put that in there. Because Dune Part 1, people didn't think it was getting screenplay until the category slimmed down. And then people were like, oh, of course Dune is getting screenplay.
That's
and
pretty
you
likely.
know that Dune Part 2 is getting Best Picture. So,
But I could see maybe.
you can see it dropping.
I'm not totally
Sure.
sold on
But at
it.
this point of the year, you have to put it in if you
That's
want to
fine.
get the best accuracy.
Yeah, you're right. And then Joker's also like kind of weird to leave
Joker
out in a
happened.
sense.
The same thing happened with Screenplay with Joker, where no one thought it was going to be a screenplay contender, and then by the end of the year, it was pretty in there. It was basically locked in for screenplay. Those are two movies that will be underestimated for screenplay, but if they're in Best Picture, it could be kind of a given that they actually do get
I
nominated.
could
after
see
all.
Joker missing though, and it having lots of jukebox musical moments. That's less screenplay if you want to put it that way.
Sure,
Less-
but it could
less
be like,
fight.
wow, the originality here. Oh my god.
The piano lesson. I think the Ma Rainey snub shows that they're like, you did word for word, like,
Yeah.
we nominated you for Fences. It would probably only happen if it was in Best Picture. Night Bitch, I think that's kind of possible. If the movie
Sure.
is, like, somewhat close to Best Picture. But I do think that people are getting a little confident in Night Bitch just because it's Searchlight.
They're getting confident? Oh, because Searchlight, it's only
Well,
movie.
and then they released the poster and people were like, oh, fuck. And then they put it, saying it's coming out on December 6th. The signs are there that there's, like, confidence, I guess. Like, that's definitely true.
But you could easily see it as just Amy Adams. That's where I can't justify putting Night Bitch into Best Picture or Screenplay, because the awards push could just be centered around Amy Adams. She might be the thing they're confident in. It's hard for me to imagine the film is a Best Picture-friendly movie.
All of our films so far have been pretty righty, though. The Rogers film was, like, number 6 or 7 for Screenplay.
And that was a Beatty movie. That was meant for the Oscars. Night Bitch
Yeah.
is not meant for the Oscars.
Yeah, but Night Bitch is
Just read the plot.
it is a really interesting concept, though, that I think people will like, though. People will latch
That's
on
nice.
to the weird
That's nice that
concept.
Letterboxd will like that, but
No,
it's not really
just
friendly for
Letterboxd.
the Oscars.
I think it might be because it's about like being a mother. It's about motherhood. How is that not that's a universal theme?
No, it,
not that weird, it's not that abstract.
chooses to explore it through genre and like werewolf trope.
The collaboration, I think, is one that we can definitely consider. I mean, especially if we're thinking about if The Apprentice could drop out entirely, it opens up Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor. I think those categories, like their openness will depend on how successful this film is overall, because you have two acting contenders, the male categories.
Yeah.
Then you have screenplay, just like the Two Popes, is basically what this movie's going for.
And the Two Popes setting the precedent, makes me think this could happen.
The thing is, the Two Popes had like a more established director on it.
Yeah, I'm a little not confident given that the play director is making the film. I don't know how well that translates.
I'm sure it'll just be like One Night in Miami or, a lot of those film
that got
play
nominated
kind
for
of things.
screenplay.
That's true. That's true.
The collaboration, I think you should take it seriously.
Yeah, okay.
Hitman's
Hitman's not happening.
No, Hitman I would keep in. You can delete Mother Mary.
No, Hitman's nothing. Hitman's so I don't know why people think Hitman's something, honestly.
I have Hitman like waiting in actor and screenplay in case everything else drops out.
Even if everything else dropped out, it would be something else. It just would be.
You think so?
Hitman is some summer streaming like fun, sexy time. It's not being taken as like the most serious movie of the year because it isn't.
But what if Netflix decided, hey, we don't have much else going on. Let's push Glenn Powell for Best Actor. Sebastian Stan's gone. We don't know who's got that number 5 slot. Maybe
then John David Washington would get nominated for the piano lesson instead. I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you. I just don't think that would happen.
I think they could try.
Try they may, try they might. I don't care.
I think if they try, it could.
Try they may, try they might.
Could play well. Gladiator 2, we can throw it in there as if it got Best Picture, it could maybe get it, and it could be a situation where no one's thinking it's going to get nominated for screenplay, and then it does. Nosferatu, Robert Eggers.
No, absolutely not.
The Fire Inside. Barry Jenkins wrote the screenplay.
Yeah, and those are screenplay director predictions. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
Are you writing the next Oscar-winning screenplay?